Okay, so for MatNum 2022 for the month of October, let's start. First images. So it's a bit of a continuity with last month. I was starting to develop an insaturator named Ondo, and I had a few trouble getting to what I wanted. I wanted some artifacts, some weird compression artifacts, and in some parts of the image, and have some overlaying hollows that would give some complexity to the image. But while I had a glitch, I actually had a glitch in my development process because it took me much more time. But I had a hunch that it could work. I didn't really know how to do it in a convincing way. So yeah, the first results were not convincing, and those 3 images is basically my state of development early in the month, and that's pictures taken. That's usually where I take my test pictures in my kitchen or wherever I code. And you see those patterns, and didn't feel convincing to me. Well, it could have some interest. Didn't feel, yeah. It's also about the feeling. I developed those filters and software for my own work, so it needs to make sense. It's not just producing stuff. So I tried to find inspiration on where and how to modify it by testing it with street photography. So here are 3 pictures where I was just walking around trying to find the inspiration, figuring out what kind of modification I could do to make it more photographically sound. Again, here, depending on the subject, I think it works pretty well. There's something strong in the way it makes the scene more complex, like on the left picture. But like on the right picture, yeah, it doesn't really make sense. It looks like a bit like a target, and yeah, that's not the goal. Or sometimes the hollows are a little too strong and a little too complex, don't really work well with the image, like on the middle image. And then, yeah, trying it out in various filmulators, which is the last step of the processing of my images on my software. And it actually, I think it already gives this extra shine and organic complexity to the picture, but it's not yet convincing. Something doesn't work. The hollow are actually placed in correspondence to the image construction. It actually looks at the image complexity to put it where it should. So lots of things I have to manage, and again, 3 tries. And you can see this sort of middle circular pattern in the middle picture and the left picture. Here it's okay, but it doesn't really add anything. And even so, the artifacts on the sky is what I was looking for, getting close to it. Yeah, it's by trial and error that I really get to something. The right picture, also not enough artifacts, I think, in the image deconstruction, and I wasn't pleased yet. So back to the board. Here I'm traveling to Greece, to Crete, and when I'm traveling, I always experiment to do some on my free time. I do some development and test and try to improve those filters. So here again, I feel the hollows are too strong, and the artifacts don't always come out. The hollows you see on the left and middle pictures, they're quite strong, don't really make sense with the image. And on the right, we don't really see the artifacts. So yeah, not yet. So the main problem when I develop like this is, what should I do to the code? How do I transform the code for it to get more subtle in every situation? Here again, 3 tests after some code updating. So as you can see, the artifacts are way stronger. I find that actually pretty interesting, like on the sky and the 2 right pictures. But then the hollows kind of work on the 2 right pictures, but in the left one, I'm not sure. And I don't really know what's going on. Sometimes I lose a little bit control of what the code does, so that's what's the point there. So back to the board, and then also each of those filmulators and insaturators have a variable part for user interaction. And then I have to integrate. Once I'm getting close to something, I have to integrate the variation factor into the code for it to make sense. And so at that point, I'm trying to fine-tune what I had before and at the same time integrate the variation. So as you can see on the middle picture and the left picture, doesn't work at all with the hollows. My strategy didn't work out. I feel it doesn't look good at all. And on the right, the hollows are definitely too strong here. When you integrate the variation, the user interaction, there's certain variables you really have to choose for it to work, and here it definitely doesn't work for me. So again, small modifications after another, 3 street photography tests with a small modification. Works a little bit better, not yet there, but to me it feels better. I think I'm getting somewhere. Then again, back to the drawing board. Often when I want to test skin tones, because I'm on front of my device and my computer coding, I use my face. So originally I cleared all the pictures, but at the end I felt like, oh, I should keep a few just to keep an archive of the state of mind I was in when I get desperate, not understanding what I'm doing. And I think the left picture is definitely that. I'm not really understanding where I'm going with the code. But still, getting slowly somewhere, I find it more, it's really slow. This process on this insaturator was exceptionally slow, but I was slowly getting somewhere I liked, and I really need to like it before integrating it in an app. Those 3 next pictures, same thing, it's really getting somewhere. The refining of the package and in different real-world configuration situations, it's starting to really make sense. That's in Geneva during a conference on the left and the countryside on the middle and the right. Getting there. Here again, testing the variator. The 2 pictures on the left, the middle and left picture, with the minimum setting and the maximum setting, how it really affects the image. I'm not pleased with those 2 pictures, but I felt it responded how I expected, and that's the main goal. It's making a tool that you can use and you can reuse and understand where you're going when you choose it. And on the right, kind of a comparison with the first pictures from the plane. The hollow is not too strong. It's well located, considering the image construction, at least to my taste. I'm the one in charge of coding it, so yeah, it follows what I want. And here, that's back to Iceland. I'm there pretty often. I think it's starting to look like I want. It's more subtle. You get some complexities in the sky, for example, with the artifacts, and you get those hollows which are quite strong but quite organic and add some complexity to the picture, which is what I was looking for. Those 3 pictures I've put because sometimes I'm suddenly the effects are kind of too subtle in real world, and I need to increase the contrast, or at least make it more visible for me to see what's going on. So, and then I take pictures of the ceiling or whatever, which is quite simple. And that was these were 3 tests to understand how the hollow positioning was taking place, depending on the image construction, and just to show you how I work. It's really trying to keep the sensuality. It's not purely theoretical. It's mostly practical when I develop. Those 3 images, basically going to more tests in real life. All those tests that I've shown today, it's using Camare. Camare is my go-to app when I want to develop something new, because it's really the most refined in terms of managing the variables of the image taking process, and you can do also multi-exposition using the experimental editor. So on the left, that's a multi-exposition. I just was curious to see if this new insaturator would go well when being piled up. And the picture is not very interesting per se, but it works in my opinion. So yeah, I was happy with this. And here, more tests in the middle. That was a performance. I'm starting to use it for performances in real live events. and on the right before a concert. And I think even so the hollow is really strong, but it's well positioned considering the image construction. Those three images, again, that's in the Contemporary Art Museum of Reykjavik. I think it's starting to work. And here I'm pretty happy with, at that point, I'm pretty happy with the results. And I think it's starting to look good for the integration in my apps. Here again, three pictures in the Reykjavik Bay, where you can definitely the transformation of the sky, and you can definitely see the hollows, but you still have an overall sense of the overall picture. And yeah, everything to my taste gives more complexity to the image in a good way. Here are three examples. On the left with a random filmulator. The way my images are constructed on my apps, there's different layers of processing. And so I test the last layer processes, filmulators. I test it with the random mode. In the middle, it's without the filmulator, and on the right, it's with a filmulator. So I test all of these things once I'm almost ready to release, just to see if it makes sense graphically, sensually. Those three pictures again, testing. I think I'm getting close to being happy with the idea of releasing it. And here again, three pictures, testing by night, testing with high contrast situations. And here again, during a travel. The picture on the right actually is not this new insaturator, but I liked it. Happened I changed the filmulator and put something else, the insaturator, and put something else, an older one, and I liked the results. But the middle one, the left one, I think give a good idea of this strong hollow, but it's well located, and transformation of the overall pattern, the finer textures. I think this is where Ondo got released, and then the main goal was to use it in my work. That's why I started developing those different software modules and apps. So then I tried to integrate it in my work. Three examples here, which didn't make the cut actually, but just to give you an idea, I took the picture on the left is one of the pictures for one of my projects. And using this insaturator and a black and white filmulator in the middle, and an Fuji instant film simulator on the right, I think the module works. The results are not good, but I mean not good. They weren't integrated into my project finally, but it made sufficient sense to start trying to use it for it. And here's the last three pictures. Once I start using those modules in my daily use, in my daily practice, that to me is a success. And that was the end of the month of October. It was quite a long month in terms of developing this module. I really felt there was something, and finally got to it on a personal preference point of view, but once I start using it every day or once every other day, I think it's a success, and hopefully the users like it too. So, if you have questions and comments, don't hesitate, as always, to do it below, and catch you next time.